Ladies and gents, this is Unbiased History, Republican Deathrow by the channel Joe Vahati. This is the sixth video of this series, and this is just epic. He's making just incredibly good video, and as soon as the video progresses one after another, it's even better. The last video was just epic, especially the ending of it. That rubbing the salt on the wound of Carthage, that was just so good. That this music with the pictures moving, it's just so awesome. Man, I did not see that one coming. But it felt like, this Doherty is seriously just some Roman guy who's really rubbing the salt in the wounds of Carthage. That was so good. This is getting better by every video. I'm loving it. So in the last video we saw how Rome and Carthage went to war, Punic Wars basically. Hannibal rose up. He basically lost most of his army before even reaching Rome, and during the fighting, he cut his eye, and it was just all mess. In the end, Rome became victorious. Obviously, burned Carthage down. Put all the salt on the ground, so it's not fertile. It was rubbing salt in the wound. And also in the video, Doherty just made it epic. So let's watch this video.
Nothing good ever lasts forever. It pains me to say, but the final days of the Roman Republic grow ever nearer. For you see, there is a spectre haunting Rome. The spectre of communism. Well, communism, barbarity, plebeiry, many things to cover today. But before we get to it, we've got to return to those Greek wars that I skipped last time. So we're going back to the Second Punic War, our focus being the Greek kingdom of Macedonia, led by Philip V. He had allied himself with Carthage in the war, but was held back to a stalemate, which is why I didn't bother to mention him before. He did begin to stir up some trouble after he saw Rome civilize some of his neighbors though. After attacking them, he was quickly defeated and pushed back, thus freeing the southern Greeks from his rule. Not that they were grateful, oh far from it. Sparta immediately revolted, only to be easily crushed. Oh, what?
What? Rome crushed Sparta like that? How did that happen? Damn, I did not see that coming. So Rome is at the time, in this time, Rome was getting the place where Rome is really powerful. Is that it? The Rome that we know of, Roman civilization that was just dominant. It's already began. Maybe Sparta is not what it used to be before. Sparta is just shell of what it used to be. It could be the reason too. But damn, I really thought there would be some fighting between Romans and Spartans. So no, it's not.
What was that? They were the best warriors of the Greek world? Well, that's kind of pathetic. And here I thought that Antiochus III of the Seleucid Empire was the hot shit. I mean, just look at his empire. Look at those fucking borders. It is no surprise to me why Hannibal chose to join his court after he lost at Zama, spending his remaining days convincing Antiochus to attack Rome, to liberate Greece. Those are some huge air quotes there. Antiochus was fucked twice in battle, once by LARPing as Leonidas in Thermopylae so hard that he lost the exact same way, and then by getting complete.
That's how Leonidas lost in Thermopylae. I thought he was overwhelmed, and like in the movie he was just struck down by by archers, I guess.
Annihilated in Magnesia, by a Roman army half of his own size no less, all while Hannibal was losing twice at sea, by the joint efforts of Scipio Africanus and his brother Scipio Asiaticus. Yeah, that's been a trend for Rome, isn't it? Rome, I've seen that Rome always has half of the army of the opposing, and yet they always crush them down. This tells you that Rome's going to be really dominant when it's at the peak of its prime of its time, when Julius Caesar is at the throne of it. So because right now you could see how powerful Rome is. Asiaticus. Utterly defeated, Antiochus fled east, losing Asia Minor to Rome's allies. You would think it would be enough, but then Macedon chimped out again, almost like they wanted to be Balkanized into 4 vassal states. Not that it was enough to pacify the region. Oh no, it took Metellus Macedonicus to achieve that.
Alright, so Greek Macedonia was crushed by Roman guy whose name is Metellus Macedonis or something like that. It's a guy whose name is Macedonis cross Macedonia.
Beating and annexing Macedon once and for all. Some cities like Corinth tried to rebel after that, but they were all set ablaze for their trouble. Good riddance. Alright, back to addressing the Red Menace. As you know, whenever Rome conquered some barbarian rebel, they had the good sense to enslave and put them to work in their farms. This generated immense wealth to the patrician elite, making the plebeian masses super duper jelly, among them Tiberius and Gaius Gracchi, the grandsons of Scipio Africanus, if you can believe it. So what went wrong? Well, their father was a pleb, consul or not. That explains it. But how did it happen? Tiberius showed promise at first, fighting beside Scipio Aemilianus in Carthage and all, but once he was sent to serve in Hispania, he partook in a great defeat, personally signing a humiliating treaty for Rome to return home alive. His cowardice was quickly pointed out by the patricians, further fueling his resentment towards them, thus further leading him to the clutches of socialist ideology, getting elected as tribune of the plebs and proposing several socialist laws. Thankfully, they were all vetoed by a more enlightened tribune, whom he quickly had disposed of and harassed by his thugs. And when the king of Pergamon willed Rome to inherit his kingdom after his death, Tiberius had the gall to demand its lands to be given for free to the proletariat. For free, fucking commie. And it only got worse from here, as on the next year, while overseeing the voting process, Tiberius heard a fake
blah blah blah, democracy, blah blah blah, will of the people.
rumor involving his assassination. Now scared for his life, Tiberius rose to the crowd, demanding them to give him a crown, so that, as king, he could crush the Roman Republic and bring forth the communist utopia. When the Senate heard of this treacherous shit, they immediately marched out with their weapons, ganging up on Tiberius and clubbing that filthy communist to death, later on throwing his corpse to the Tiber River along with his thugs. They later did the same with his brother Gaius, whom also fell for the communist meme. I only feel sorry for Tiberius on this one though, he didn't deserve that. But say, now that the socialists are dead, let's talk about borders. As it was around this time the Rome struck a deal with Massalia to create the Roman province of Transalpine Gaul, connecting Italy with Hispania by a road through Narbonne. Quite convenient really, given how he was rebelling at the time. But don't worry, it was quickly pacified by Scipio Aemilianus himself, together with his subordinate, Tiberius Gracchi, you know, back when he was still alive. As well as the Numidian Jugurtha and Gaius Marius. Yeah, some more about this too. After that, Jugurtha returned to Numidia, overthrowing his relatives in power and bribing all consuls that came to punish him. To settle this, the Senate sent Metellus, the nephew of Macedonicus, to Numidia, accompanied by Gaius Marius, whom was basically as good as a pleb could hope to become. Courageous, pragmatic, somewhat educated, reminds me of Servius Tullius. Being too much of a bitch to face Metellus and Marius face to face, Jugurtha started employing every guerrilla trick in the book to delay defeat. So much so that Marius had the time to return Rome, get elected consul, and take over command of the war, bringing with him his subordinate Lucius Sulla. And gods, I love this guy. He soon proved himself capable by persuading Bocchus, the king of Mauritania, to betray Jugurtha, giving him to Sulla, whom then gave him to Marius, who then took all the credit for it. Yep. Sulla and Marius became bitter rivals after that, likely on top of their factional differences. These are the good guys, by the way, if you couldn't figure out by the name.
Yeah, they are the good guy. It even says there, the best. If the best are not the good guy, who are? The Marius, this guy, I heard of him. Is he related to Julius Caesar? Because I remember, before I was, searching about Julius Caesar, long before when I was, I don't know what it was. Was I in school or something, or I don't know. So when I was searching about Julius Caesar, I remember hearing about Marius Gaius or something like that. Is he related to Julius Caesar? Is he the father of him? Huh.
Name. But you know what? Forget all that, for neither Numidians nor plebs can compare to the threat that's about to come. An enemy so evil, full of malevolence and hatred, that not only do they wish to spread chaos, but to destroy existence itself. The greatest enemies of mankind, and worst barbarian race of all. Germans. Two of their tribes, the Cimbri and the Teutones, had migrated south from the lands of eternal chaos, destroying everything in their path until they neared Italy. Marius could tell that this was no ordinary foe, and so issued the Marian reforms, creating the Roman legion of popular imagination. There were no more hastati, principes, or triari, just legionaries, and 2 assistants for every 8 of them, which made up the contubernium, led by a decanus. 10 of those made a century, led by a centurion. 6 of those made up a cohort, led by an an experienced centurion, and 9 of those, plus a special first cohort led by the Primus Pilus, together made up the Roman legion.
Ooh, the iconic legions are here, legionnaires and centaurs. It's just...
There was some cavalry, but who gives a shit about them? The legion was led by a legate, an elected senator.
I'm getting massive New Vegas flashback here. Legates, centurions, legionnaires. So this is, we are basically approaching the point where the setup of army, the tactics of army became this. Legates, centurions, legionnaire. This is what we know of Rome today, Roman army. So this is, Rome is kind of becoming one of the most powerhouse army of all time right now.
Advised by his useless military tribunes, with the supplies and constructions led by the camp prefect. Overall, the reforms allowed any poor fact to enlist, made the generals responsible for their payment, and transformed the legions into stronger, faster, cheaper, professional soldiers, with no downside at all.
Poor facts can enlist, mostly plebs. Generals now responsible for paying soldiers, this manipulates for cohorts. Formations much tighter and resilient. Soldiers now carry the stuff in their bags. Standardized and subsidized equipment make soldiers a regularly paid profession. Yeah, that makes sense, especially the formation much tighter and resilient. Since if you're gonna let on poor people, on plebs and whatever workers, they are going to be more sturdier and stronger and will fight with more stronger will since they have more to gain. So that kind of makes sense here. Downsides, I know one downside about cavalry of Romans, because they didn't have that leg thing. You know how there's a, what is it called, stirrups? I think stirrups, that's what they're called, where you put your leg while you're on horse. They didn't have that. So what happened was, most of the time the whoever was riding the horse always fell down. While at the time, every other tribes like Gauls and other people always had the stirrups where you could put a feet on the while riding the horse. So their horse riders or cavalry was much weaker.
At all. Nope. It was with this army that both Marius and Sulla confronted the Germs, annihilating both the Cimbri and the Teutonic tribes, despite being heavily outnumbered.
He's calling them Germans. Were they known as Germans back then? Weren't they just part of Gauls? I don't know, man.
But Marius would remain forever scarred, as the horrors he experienced by facing the Germs in battle could never be remedied, with Sulla sharing the sentiment. But at least, Rome had been saved from a Germanic sack, for now. And if it all sounded too easy for you, that won't be the last time we hear from those Germs. I wish. I really do.
Oh no, what's gonna happen in the future?
Anyway, let's talk about that civil war that's going on in Italy right now. You know, the social war, when the Italians decided to collectively revolt, again, founding a new capital, printing coins that mocked Rome, getting absolutely trashed by Sulla in Asculum and Nola, and, well, I guess that's that. Sulla really hated Samnites, by the way. Well, who doesn't? As the war neared its end, Rome offered citizenship to those who surrendered, as a sign of goodwill. Let's see how long it will take for the Samnites to chimp out again. Spoiler warning, not even 5 minutes. Now a famous war hero, Sulla would get himself elected as consul, which happened to coincide with yet another Greek king starting shit in the east. So let's get back to that particular rabbit hole again. So we have this kingdom called Pontus, right? It was ruled by a guy named Mithridatic, a vicious Greekoid. He began both plotting and directly fighting against all of his neighbors, especially Rome's client states like Bithynia. Rome tried to raise some local auxiliaries to stop him, but they were too weak. And after having taken control of all of Asia Minor, and I swear I'm not exaggerating, Mithridates ordered the genocide of every Roman man, woman, and child in Asia. 100,000 Roman colonists were mercilessly killed and sacrificed to Moloch, in the most despicable act ever committed by a Greek since the sack of Troy. Needless to say that Sulla was horrified when he learned of this, preparing his legions for a campaign to avenge the fallen. But this is where Marius finally goes truly mad. He was quite old by then, you see, and combined with his PTSD and plebeian nature, he went full senile, demanding that the Senate transfer Sulla's army leadership to him, which they actually did. Why? Well, this is the kind of shit you get when you allow plebs to have political rights. I fucking told you, I fucking did. And honestly, it was too much for Sulla to take. Between being betrayed by an increasingly plebeian-dominated Senate and the sheer evil of both Greeks and Germs, Sulla forced himself to swallow that bitter red pill. The truth was that the Jews were behind everything.
Shackles ain't free. The Passover Matzokota be bagged with the blood of the Goyim. Barack Hussein Obama KBO is not your president. He's Zionist puppet. Probably reptilian as well. Israel is the greatest ally. This is awesome.
Oh no, wait, wrong red pill. Alright, so the truth was that the Republic would soon fall if things kept going the way they were. With this in mind, Sulla, the madman, did the unthinkable, ordering his legions to march to Rome, for he would personally save the Republic, by force. Marius might have become senile by then, but he wasn't stupid, fleeing to Africa just before Sulla could arrive. He chose to be lenient, quickly lecturing the Senate, and after having restored order, Sulla returned to his invasion plans, crossing the sea and proceeding to crush Mithridatic armies twice in the battles of Chaeronea and Archimedes, and then setting Athens ablaze after that. Because fuck Greeks, seriously man. With his armies destroyed, Mithridates surrendered, renouncing all of his conquests in Asia. It was only to buy time though. Once a barbarian, always a barbarian. But once a pleb, always a pleb too. For Marius used this time to raise his own legions on Africa, marching on Rome and killing every optimates he could find, forcing the Senate to elect Cinna and himself consuls, for the 7th time, only for him to die like 3 weeks later. So much for that. Cinna would later be killed by his troops to try and curry favor with Sulla, which just didn't work. He was too pissed for that. What happens later is just hilarious. The Senate appointed a total of 4 consuls to try and stop Sulla. The first was Asiaticus' son, whose army defected him. The second was Norbanus, whom only raised recruits, against Sulla's veteran armies. Very shitty plan. And the last 2 were Carbo and Marius' son, whom Sulla would defeat easily with the help from his 2 supporters, Pompey and Crassus. Ah man, the next episode is gonna be so fucking fun to edit. To top it all off, 20,000 Samnites showed up as a final opposition to Sulla, whom he happily had all killed. Kind of pointless really. Appointing himself dictator for life, Sulla issued the proscriptions, putting bounties on the heads of every filthy popularis he took a dislike to, thus purging the Senate, Rome, and abroad of their ilk, later on passing a series of laws to prevent any future wannabe Mariuses from harming the Republic. And finally, after hearing that Mithridates was starting shit once again, he had his general in the field sue for peace after a quick skirmish, just to let that Greekoid fuck off to the east and be somebody else's problem. Now finished with his duties, Sulla resigned his lifelong dictatorship after just 1 year, serving as consul for a
Did all these things and just ruled for a year? I mean, that's nothing, man.
little bit, and then retiring to his small farm with his wife, and his Greek twink sex slave of course, whom he fucked every single day and night of his retirement.
Too much detail,
because if he was too old to fuck Greeks on the battlefield, he would do it in his bed, for there is nothing manlier than asserting your authority over a weaker man's ass while your wife cooks food for you. And that's all for today. A series of wars and internal conflicts that brought the Republic to the brink, only to be saved by the righteous hand of conservative patrician Optimates Justice. And well, I'm lying. There is one more scene I should return to. It was during the funeral of Gaius Marius' wife, Julia, as her nephew rose up from the crowd and had this to say about her. The family of my Aunt Julia is descended by her mother from the kings, and on her father's side is akin to the immortal.
Ooh, Julius Caesar. That's Julius Caesar right there. I know this. I know this particular. I remember, reading about this. That's Julius Caesar. Oh, okay. So, Gaius Marius' wife's nephew is Julius Caesar. I knew he was related. I somehow knew it.
Gods. For the Marquis Reges go back to Ancus Marcius and the Julii, the family of which ours is a branch, to Venus. Our stock, therefore, has at once the sanctity of kings, whose power is supreme among mortal men, and the claim to reverence which attaches to the gods who hold sway over kings themselves.
By every single video, his endings are becoming awesomely just great. Oh, I love that part. He just, used that, that is probably one of the first time where, recorded history shows where Julius Caesar started to rose up from there. He, this is one of the famous, famous speech Very few speeches of Julius Caesar is around. This is probably the first famous speech that historians know of. This is so awesome, and the ending was so awesome. He doesn't even say that he's Julius Caesar, just nephew of Julia. I love it. So I guess Julius Caesar is soon gonna come. Where is, look at that. Yeah, the first triumvirate and then Julius Caesar. Yeah, okay. The video after, the next video is the Julius Caesar one. So Caesar is coming. Well, Julius Caesar is just a legend. Top 3 great generals of all time. If I were to think, I think that's Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, and Napoleon, obviously. And if you put side by side just by their success and just how dominant they were, some can argue that Julius Caesar was best of them all. Obviously, Alexander the Great conquered a lot of places, but just by sheer dominance and the sheer power, how easily victories happened where there shouldn't be. Where Julius Caesar was outnumbered, he still crossed them like it's nothing. So Julius Caesar in that sense is just great. I love these videos, man. This slowly just growing, and it's truly unbiased, by the way. None of them was this was biased. All those damn plebs unnecessarily revolting every time. Oh man. Alright people, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which videos to react to more. Alright, I'll see you next time.